Hi, I'm Richard Farleigh, and I'm the keynote speaker at the Future Focus business conferences run by the Telegraph Business Club, hosted by Telegraph and in association with IBM. The things that could turn the current crisis around are probably just the old animal spirits. Prices are falling, and people will start to see value, people will see opportunities, people will work a little bit harder. I think it's what Keynes called the animal spirits, where people will just spot opportunity and do things differently. There's been a lot of sort of fat, I guess, taken out of the system, with people shifting out of areas that weren't profitable and trying to find areas that are profitable. So maybe it's a bit like the economy going on a diet, and it'll come back a bit meaner and leaner when it emerges. Now, whether I could get leaner or meaner, maybe I could get leaner, I could certainly get meaner. I'm just being very careful. I think the battle over the last sort of 12 months or so has been not to lose too much money. Although I remember back after the tech wreck in 2001, I did some very good investments, as it turned out, by crossing my fingers and sort of closing my eyes and being very optimistic. So I'm cautiously looking out for opportunities out there, but my main focus is on just making sure all my businesses are run fairly tightly. I think people are beginning to get in a strategic mindset. I think people are still recovering a little bit from the shock of how quickly things turned. I think it was October 2008, how quickly things turned around about that time. And so they're still making adjustments. There's still sort of jobs being lost and costs being cut elsewhere. But I think that the green shoots of recovery may be out there in some sectors where people are starting to think a little bit about the future. But I don't think it's overly being done yet. There's probably room to focus on it over the next 6 months. Social communication is, such as Twitter and Facebook, is really exciting, both socially and from a business perspective, because if you look at what's happened in society, in the old village system, everyone used to know the milkman and the postman, and they used to go to the local grocery store, and there's been this trend of things becoming less personal, and people, a lot of less interaction between people because they're not bumping into each other at the local village. And so in a way it's been bad for societies, this sort of disintegration of social networking. And now suddenly the computer, these little electronic things sitting on your desk, everybody's talking to each other and having instant updates on what they're doing. And I think it's really fantastic, and it's actually encouraging a sense of community again, and maybe it'll rescue us from where we were headed. Some businesses can benefit more than others by reorganising their structure using technology. Obviously, if you're a production company, if you're a manufacturing company, then you're always looking at new ways of manufacturing, and that's pretty obvious that that's what you need to do, and you're comparing the cost of new machinery, etc., versus the return on that. If you're a services-based business, then it can be more tricky about whether you implement new software, say, to handle customer orders and things like that. But again, I do think it's a worthwhile activity. So I think, from what I see, obviously manufacturing companies do that as a matter of course, and they're good at assessing the cost and the benefit. Service-based companies are not always good at looking at those opportunities, and the better ones are good at it, and the poorer ones are not good at it. So effectively, the ability to evaluate technology is important for a service-based company. It can make or break them. I think with this recession that we're in, I think those companies which aren't able to adapt will probably die, because even if you look at the largest companies in the world, and I don't need to name them, but even if you look at the largest companies in the world that have not changed in the last 10 or 15 years, say in the automobile sector, they're really struggling. So if you assume that's a pretty good example, and look, around the rest of the world, there's a lot of other cases of companies who need to change, and if they haven't changed in the past, they probably should learn to do so pretty quickly. I'm hoping that these conferences will be very useful for the people who attend them. I think at the moment obviously we're going through this recession, and everyone's looking for ideas and wondering what the next big thing is going to be, or what sort of business is going to succeed in the future. And even though the participants can be from vastly different industries, they're all in these sort of similar sized companies, which I find tend to have similar sort of challenges. And it's amazing in the number of companies I've been involved with, even though they're very different, they're very similar in terms of facing legal or employment challenges. So I think by meeting a lot of other people in that sort of same size companies will be very useful for them, and I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of those people, particularly obviously in Ireland as well. So it'll be very interesting to turn up.